Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Heart Navigating Lipedema Together. I'm thrilled to be here today, Lisa Dury, and I'm with my favorite person on the planet when it comes to all things lipedema, our original Heart Guide founder, CEO, researcher, and kindest person I know who cares so much about our community, my co host and friend, Catherine Seo. Dr. Catherine Seo is in the house,
That's a good way to start Monday.
right?
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Um, we were talking before we got on, and something pretty significant has happened. And I felt that we share pretty much everything we can with the community. And this is a big one. And it involves Lisa, but it involves all of us because what happened is not uncommon at all in terms of I'm going to ask Lisa to share a bit about what happened. So Lisa, would you share a bit about being scheduled to leave to go have your surgery in Germany and at the last minute having the rug pulled out from under you?
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting the foreshadowing you're doing. Yeah, this is a heart to heart. This is not scripted like it ever is, everybody, and there might be some tears and perhaps an F bomb. I don't know. We'll see what happens, Catherine. But it's so nice to see Galeen and Truth Seeker here with us. Um, I guess the bottom line of all of it is that I had built a plan for surgery for myself. And a week before I was supposed to leave, I was told that the anesthesiologist isn't comfortable with my current BMI and what they call my fitness level. And so we've postponed it. And not that I had a choice, right? It's about safety. So I'm really grateful that the anesthesiologist wants to keep me safe. I'm gutted, devastated, embarrassed, shocked, mad, sad, relieved. The range of emotions that I'm holding space for at the same time, I feel a little bit like a tornado. And I'm happy to unpack it with you, Catherine, because I think we can all learn from this. And um, I'm not the only one that this has happened to.
Mm-mm. So let me just say that when I was looking at surgery, which was back in 2013 and 14, so at the very beginning, before surgery had evolved as much as it has, because the surgery has evolved over the past 10 years. And oh, that's, yeah, Sue says, so sorry, Lisa. I
Oh,
knew
thank
that
you, Sue.
I knew the community would be holding you.
Mm.
Um, so when I started, I was told by a couple of the top doctors at the time in the US and in Europe that I was not a good candidate, and I overrode it. Um, Not only did I override it, I basically didn't listen.
Mhm.
I just said, we're going to do it my way. Found one of the other surgeons who was willing to do it. And anyway, to make a very long story short, it was not a good pathway because they were right. But as hard as that is, um, it's it's something that we all need to consider when we're going the pathway of what's going to be the best treatment for us. And
Mhm.
so, what are you finding that you're doing, or how are you responding that is empowering you? Because you always empower yourself. I don't, I don't know anyone else who is like on a horse with a shield and a
Mm,
thing like you.
yeah. I think there's a couple of things that is coming up when you're talking. First is I know everyone's always curious, what does it mean when you say I wasn't a good candidate and I didn't listen? Because I think that's important knowledge. So
Hmm.
do you want to go there first? Do you want me to answer your question? But I know that people really want to know what it meant for you to not be a good candidate.
Yeah, sure. My BMI was too high,
Mhm.
not unlike what you're talking to.
Yep.
My fitness level was not in a good place.
Mhm.
And at the time, I had been recently diagnosed. I had gone through perimenopause. I was on the edge of menopause. And I just had, I believe, as I look back on it, a number of different things that were not ideal for surgery like that.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
like medical, physical,
Yep.
it wasn't the best time of my health.
Yeah. So this is so helpful, right? Because one of the things is like everyone's like, what does it mean to not be a candidate? So I think the first thing I'll say is I've been on this journey with you and my own journey 2.5 years, right? And when I first found out what lipedema was, the first thing I did was try and find a surgeon. I mean, I was actually diagnosed by a surgeon, right? Because I couldn't find anybody. I eventually got my PCP on board, educating them, and we have an official diagnosis from not one but two surgeons and a PCP. And I always felt that the surgeons, I just wanted I wanted a diagnosis that was be outside of a surgical office because I know surgery is a business, right? And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just an easy, you know, because you can confuse it, right? So anyway,
No,
once
finish that thought.
mhm,
I think that thought is an important thought.
okay,
Surgery is a business. I know women who have paid as much as $100,000 for their surgeries.
yep, surgery is a business for sure.
So you
Yes,
always want to be careful that,
yeah.
you know, the intent is health and not necessarily just money.
Yeah, well, and I think that's why, and I'm not saying that the surgeons I went to weren't ethical. I like them both very much. One was going to do it in his surgery center while I was awake, and I was like, oh, heck no. And the other one wanted to do it in a hospital, which I was really grateful for. The local folks, right? And so I was like, okay, there's two options. And when I went to Potsdam for the Lipedema World Congress, I really was blessed to not only be an advocate and a speaker there, but also an attendee. So I got to listen to all the different techniques, all the different surgical approaches. And one of the things that I realized even a year ago was that I wasn't ready yet. So I had worked really, really hard to be ready. And I was in Potsdam with Dr. Carmody and Siobhan Huggins. And Dr. Carmody looked at me because there was a lot of conversation around GLP-1s at the time and obesity, right? The coexistence of obesity and lipedema and lymphedema. And he asked me while we were there, what are you going to deal with first, obesity or lipedema? And I said, I have dealt with obesity my whole life, Dr. Carmody, and I am in pain. I'm going to deal with lipedema first. My goal in the next year is to get myself ready for surgery. And Dr. Carmody's wonderful, and he's like, well, the wisdom's in the patient. You know what's right for you. And so I went down the path of getting ready for surgery, and what that meant for me was more mental and financial. So I spent a lot of time as a business owner trying to make sure that we had enough money in the bank that I could pay for it out of pocket because I wanted to go where they invented this stuff, right? Which is in Germany. So I did not focus on my fitness other than I focused on my mobility. So I have made tremendous strides in my mobility. But when I said to my daughter, hey, what are you most excited about after the surgery's done? I said, I can't wait to take you to Disneyland because I was visualizing myself walking around Disneyland and standing in lines. And she said, Mom, I'd just be happy if we could go to Ulta and you didn't have to go find a chair at the makeover counter. Like if you could just walk around Ulta and not be in pain. And I went, whoa, like that's a really small thing compared to me with this grandiose Disneyland vision, right? And it took me aback and it made me really think like, hmm, what am I missing that her big thing would be Ulta when mine is Disneyland? It'd be like, a marathon, right? So when I did all my I worked with my primary care in the US and we did all the pre-ops, EKGs, heart scans, labs, right? We did all that and everything came back clear. So I actually started a GoFundMe and was raising money because as a small business owner, right? It's tremendous impact on my family. And if I'm not working, I'm not making money. So we did a GoFundMe and I was blown away at the generosity of the friends in my network. So I thought, okay, we're ready to go. And then I got the call that was like, the anesthesiologist is worried because you have sleep apnea and is worried because your blood pressure is being regulated with medication and your BMI is where it's at. And we want to talk to you and tell you why we don't think it's safe right now. Right. And I just was like, what? What? Like, everything passed. All my tests passed. We've got the money now. My clients know I'm taking the time off. You guys know, like, we're going. It's like a weekend. And I just decided that sitting there mad at the anesthesiologist for trying to keep me safe is probably not a good use of my time. So I asked to meet with the anesthesiologist and asked for some specifics. So what I was told was, the question was, how's my fitness level and can I walk 2 flights of stairs without being winded? And I said, well, absolutely not. No, but I walk in a pool. I ride my bike, right? I can walk around the grocery store. But for whatever reason, and I'm not an anesthesiologist, that wasn't enough fitness level for them to feel it was safe. I think because of the sleep apnea, which I know is obesity related in my body, right? So then the second thing I said, okay, so if I can walk 2 flights of stairs, is it a yes? And she said, well, the other thing I think is you really need to get your weight down, which, to be honest, Catherine, was more crushing than the stairs. And the stairs made me feel like it was Herculean, but the weight, I'm like, oh, we're back to weight again. Here we go. So 22 pounds. So I was like, okay, so if I can lose 22 pounds and I can walk 2 flights of stairs, is it a yes? And she said, well, let's revisit it because a lot can change with that. And this is the first time I'm saying this out loud publicly because I went into such a shame spiral that I did it to myself, that I wasn't trying hard enough. It was really hard to hear, even though I'm really grateful to be safe, right? And I think that as much as they say BMI doesn't matter in lipedema, right? It does. It matters for anesthesiology. It matters to keep your cardiovascular system and your lungs working. And so what I do every day is when I start to feel like this, I notice it and I'm like, wait a minute, you're safe. You can do this, kid. That's how I talk to myself. And so what I did is I decided to shift my focus from lipedema back to Dr. Carmody's question to the obesity side that's happening in my body. And I have finally started, after all this time, trizepatide because I wasn't doing it because I wanted to understand my body's reaction to the liposuction, the lipedema removal first. But I'm like, okay, well, if obesity is impacting me with sleep apnea and high blood pressure and anesthesiology concerns, then that's the thing I got to deal with first. So I've shifted, and it's only been a week, which is why the tears are still flowing, right? But I just decided, like I always do, Catherine, that staying mad is not going to serve me.
Mm-hmm.
Staying mad is not going to serve me. I am not mad. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. I'm like, now the thing that I really realized in this last week is I've been really comfortable talking about lipedema because it's very clear it's a disease, right? And the literature supports it. It's the hashtag tagline, right? Where
Yes.
I've been in the messy middle is that my dance and my journey of obesity, because we all know in our community, right, with the access to the experts that we have, that obesity is also a disease. But for some reason, I have a lot harder time embracing that obesity is not my fault either when I have 56 years, right, on this planet of being told over and over and over again that it is, including by myself, to myself regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're right in the beginning of the shift, and I just keep visualizing me walking up 2 steps of stairs like Rocky, 2 flights of stairs like Rocky, 22 pounds down, and talking to you guys live from Germany and saying, thank you for the anesthesiologist for keeping me safe, and here's all the benefits that's happened when I dealt with obesity first. That's how I'm staying okay.
I want to reiterate, because it's a conversation we've had numerous times here, different weeks, about the role that anti-fat bias plays, and that it's not externalized only, it's very deeply
Yeah.
internalized. In the literature, they talk about it as controllability. There's a misnomer that it's a lifestyle choice. And I have to say, sometimes it is. I mean, there are times in my life I know when my weight resulted from overeating. Not only that, but it was definitely a component of it. And yet, it's much more complex than that. Much more
Mhm.
complex.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like she's like, "You're too fat." Like, she was very kind, right? Very, like, pragmatic might be the word, right? This is the number I'd be comfortable at for her. And I think the number varies by person, by body, by stage, by surgeon, by clinic, right? There's no one number, but she didn't say to me, "You're fat," but that's what I heard,
Hmm.
right? And I instantly went to and this past year I focused so much on mobility. The one time we went to Mexican food and I love my tortilla chips, is it my fault? Like, I started reviewing meals in my head. Right? And we all know, I've talked about it before. I've already cut out gluten. I've already cut out dairy. I'm limiting my sugar. So in my mind, I thought that might be enough. Right? And that the BMI part was just, um, when the lipedema came out, I could move more. And that's what I told Dr. Carmody in Potsdam. I said, I just want to move and not be in pain because I know I can exercise. I've done my whole life. Heck, this goes way back, but I was the badminton varsity team captain. I could run and move and do the things, right? But that wasn't menopause me. That was high school me. So the fat bias piece is something I am right in the middle of, and
Hmm.
sometimes embarrassed to even admit I still have it, and also recognize that sitting in embarrassment isn't serving me or the community, and talking about it is actually where the gift becomes real. And I think that's important.
Yes, and I was about to say, and I think that's very important because of how we compartmentalize. Oops, there goes Bella. How we compartmentalize who we are, what we do, how we look. I mean, it's not just us; it is a global and cultural phenomena. Um, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't think um, I you know, let me see how to phrase this. I think it's something that has to be worked out personally because I don't believe we can do anything about it culturally. I think there's so much um, collusion and agreement about fat being horrific.
Mm,
So, see,
interesting.
I think this is important here too. So I'm gonna share what Sandra is saying in the chat. She had a spine surgeon tell her that weight, uh, so she wouldn't have pain from, I don't know how
Mhm.
to say this, so a disorder.
Oh, spondylolisthesis. I used to do medical claims. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this, Sandra. I had a spine surgeon tell me with weight loss, I would no longer have pain from unstable spondylolisthesis. I was so angry, but after thinking about it, I went on a radical medically supervised liquid diet, 800 calories a day for 9 months. I lost 80 pounds. My pain got worse, and I found a different spine surgeon. That diet was not something I could live on. Yeah, Sandra, I don't know if you've heard my story, but I've done 82-week medically supervised weight loss programs, shakes and bars. I've lost 85 pounds more times than not. And that's why when Dr. Carmody said, "What are you going to work on first?" I went straight to lipedema. I'm like, I've worked on obesity my whole life. Right.
Mm.
I really appreciate your share, Sandra. I'm sorry that was your experience. And I want to say to you, my heart to you, you're not alone. You're not alone. And please, I'm so glad you're here sharing your story right now. It helps me too.
And I think the thing that I want to focus on is yes, you were upset, and yes, there were tears, and yes, there was mad and sad and all of the rest. And yet you found what actions you could take and put it into action almost immediately. Can you talk about what that was like and how you motivated yourself to move on it?
Yeah, Catherine, it's the first thought I had, which I don't know what that says about me, was I was worried about my GoFundMe donors and disappointing them. It's the first thing I thought is they have been following my journey. They've donated their own money. It's a week before I'm supposed to go, and now I need to tell them that it's my fault. Do you know what I mean? That's the thought I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I called one of my friends who is one of the donors, and I said, "This is what's going on." And I was sobbing. And I said, "I just don't want to let you down." And she was like, excuse me? Let me down? Are you kidding me? I am so proud of you. Like, you know how many people you're going to help because you're going to tell the story? Do you know what's going to change because of this? Like, I know compression is out of pocket for you. I know MLD is out of pocket. You're probably going to need some physical therapy with copays. You know, if you do the trizepatide, that's out of pocket, right? Like, because she's like, use my money for whatever you need. I don't want, because I'm like, maybe I need to refund people. There's fees. I was like, really worried about letting people down. And so I started calling people and explaining it, and they all were like, please use the money to help yourself. So that was a big aha for me, because I felt like the money was tied to a specific thing, and that I didn't want anyone to think like, I don't ask for money. I've never, Catherine, this is not something I do, right? So I also see that there's something here, and that is the connection with the people and telling my story. So my husband and my daughter came in because, we're a growth mindset household. I'm a coach by nature, right? And we talk all the time about generative, life-giving questions, because our questions and our words create our worlds. And she sat me down, and my daughter said, Mom, we've done Halloween together. It's our favorite time, and you weren't going to be here. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm happy you'll be here for Halloween. And then she said to me, I had my first dance, and you were going to miss it, and you're going to be here. And I was just like, you know what? Thank you. Right. So I started looking for what becomes possible with me being home. I also thought about the election, and that I could make sure my vote made it in, because I was going to do the, voting by mail, that I could actually walk it in. And I just started looking for something that would show me that the gift of being here in this moment. And then the second thing I did is I called my primary care, and I said, okay, here's what's up. And she said, I think this might be a blessing in disguise, Lisa, because you and I know I've talked to you about trying to get you on trizepatide for a while, which is Zepbound or Monjorno, I think, right, Catherine? This is the medical term for it.
Yeah, Monjorno or
Wegovy, right? And so she basically just said to me, let's just start it. Let's go. We don't have to wait, because you're not supposed to be on this at least 2 weeks before surgery. And it's not covered. And I had my donor, a couple of friends already say, do what's right. And I was like, okay. So $500 later, I got the prescription, went online, it got delivered, and I've started that too. I also have started I would call it the German approach to physiotherapy, MLD, which is much more deep tissue work for fibrotic. So my CLT and I partnered, and we've got trained by the German team. And so 3 days a week, she's ringing me out big time, because they believe that some of the 22 pounds to lose is fluid. And the last thing is, I was holding off on getting fitted for the flat knit compression that they use in Germany, because it's thousands of dollars. And so I've been partnering with the German team there as well, and we're working on getting that for me too. But again, without the GoFundMe, I wouldn't have been able to pay for it. So it's been one step after the other, and just keeping my eye on the prize, because I didn't take it as a no, I took it as a not now.
Oh my God, that is the best. That is the
Mhm.
best. Just to be able to have that frame, that mindset. What do you see as the biggest challenge that you have right now in getting to the surgery? Do you have any idea when you'll be able to go?
No, I don't. I mean, I know if you lose 2 pounds a week times so many weeks, right? The thing for me, I think that I really, because of all of the work I've done with Lipedema Simplified and Lipedema Project, I'm really looking at this as a citizen science project on my own. What I've become acutely aware, and I don't even want to admit this, but I think it's important, so I will, is how I talk to myself.
Mhm.
I can take all these actions, do all these things, and if I'm talking to myself, I can't shame myself into healing. Shame is not going to work here. And so rather than set a timeline on like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, right? We're going to check in 8 weeks on all the things I'm doing and see what results I'm getting. But I think bigger than that, it's time for me to embrace that obesity is a disease in my body and I need to love my body. Like the Nina episodes that you did, the first one you did, plus the one when I was on with her, that was right before all this happened. And I
Yes.
just kept thinking, being at war with my body and being pissed at my body is not going to serve me. I mean, my body has done tremendous as far as everything I've done already. And if we can make this type of strides, then how better suited for surgery will I be when, I do that Rocky move on video and show you all me doing 2 flights of stairs, right? And the 22 pounds, me, I'm going to overarch. I'm like, give me 25, give me 27. I don't know. But that doesn't mean it's easy, Catherine. It doesn't mean that I don't cry every day.
Yeah.
Because there's days I'm like, this freaking sucks.
Yeah.
I am so tired of this.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, what's the point of staying there? What's the point of staying there? Right now, when I first found out, I lost a whole day. I told I just went to bed. I'm like, nope, I'm not even, I can't even have a conversation right now. But we're a week later and I'm trying to find my groove.
Yeah, and I would say you are in a groove. You are in your groove, Lisa.
Oh,
And
thank you.
and to keep us updated as things continue.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, one of the things I want to just publicly say, and, when I told you, Catherine, you were relieved. I saw it on your face because you're like, I didn't feel like you were totally ready yet. And you've been trying to tell me in different ways, much like you, my friend. I was like, I'm ready. It's been 2.5 years, right?
Right.
And even when I have direct access to Dr. Catherine Sayo, and she just kept saying, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. I was like, yes, I'm ready. We got the money, got the time off. We're ready. To see your face of relief highlights to me that staying mad isn't going to get me anywhere.
No.
And that also, as we support each other and, loved ones and coworkers, that we may hold our opinions and still be as transparent as we can, but it's our own journey. Like, you weren't going to tell me, no, don't do it, Lisa. That's not your role in my life. Right. But I did see the relief on your face. And I think that that's important to talk about, because when you're sitting here next to someone you love who's going through something this big, which we all are, and honoring the journey, I say thank you for letting me have my own journey and my own lived experience, and not just say, because if you had said, Lisa, don't do it, I wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the weight that you carry in my consciousness and my lived experience of navigating this disease, as someone who's coached me for so long. So I appreciate you letting me fumble my way through and be there to hold me when I was devastated.
Yeah. The thing is, I just want to say I tell my story very briefly. I would not wish how sick I was on anybody on the planet. I was so sick after my surgery. When I say I almost died, I was in kidney failure. It turned out for weeks. And the fact that I survived it is a miracle. But the way that I felt, like I could not even get out of bed, it was just devastating. And I made it. I'm a survivor for sure. And when I look back on it, it taught me so much. Um, and now I feel like those lessons are coming into way more visibility as we talk more and more about surgery as an option.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is I just I'm such a good ostrich. I just sort of put my head in the sand, said, "Okay, it's done. I survived. That's it." I disbanded the surgery group that I had run, and I just put it aside. And it's become very clear that there are some that surgery is a good option.
Mm-hmm.
Surgery is a viable option for some. And to be able to support that is an important part of the work that we do. So I just wanted to say that to the community because it makes more sense in the context of how can we help? How can we help? That's what it comes down to. So we're at the end of our time. So, Lisa, what do you want to share with everyone to sort of bring us to closure?
I think first I just want to say to Nancy and Sherry, Shauna, Tamara, Juanetta, Christine, Sandra, and I can't even go all the way up the screen because there's so many comments here. I haven't read your comments yet because I was trying to be fully present in my body for this conversation that I said to Catherine before we went live. Are we sure we're doing this today? We need to do this today. Okay. So I'm going to read your comments. I want to say thank you for being here live. And for those of you listening, thank you for whatever comments you leave. Catherine, I don't know if I have one thought, but here's what's on my heart. And it comes back to this again and again and again is like, don't do lipedema alone. And the reason I want to say that is because, all that I've learned in the holistic approach and all that I got ready for here, right? And where am I the minute something goes sideways? On the phone with you, right? Talking to the community back here because it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. And I think the other thing is I would just like to invite you all on the journey with me that when you start to beat yourself up because it's not as easy as it should be, or you get a bump in the road, perhaps the pothole that I just, went through. When you catch yourself talking crappy to yourself, just find a way to stop or have someone else hold space with you. Because I think it's something we all have in common. And I've become acutely aware of the negative self-talk that goes on when I feel like something's my fault.
Yes. I will make one short announcement because I'm so used to doing that. But we do have a coaching special interest group coming up, and it's on detoxing. A lot of us have been talking about the impact of, the lymphatic issues that many of us deal with end up in toxins in our
Oh
system.
my gosh, I can feel it for sure when they start to drain. I'm like, oh, the toxins in here,
And
crazy.
here it is. I just put the link in the chat. So there is there it is. There's the link, and there is I have it here. Here it is. There's an intro session this Thursday night. I'll be there. I've been dealing with toxicity for the past couple of years. And so this came out of a conversation with Carrie, who is a functional medicine nutritionist and just brilliant. So she's going to be giving this to us in the community. So again, you sign up for it. I have to go back to the other screen. You sign up for it here. For the free webinar, we'll go through the actual coaching special interest group. The CSIG starts the following, I believe, Monday night and lasts for, I think it's 3 weeks. And there's 2 sessions. There's a teaching session, and then there's a coaching session each week. So it's 6 or 7 or 8 sessions. I can't remember, but the information is on the page. So please join us.
Yeah, and for those of you listening to the recording, we'll put that in the show notes so you can take a look at that as well.
Yes.
And the CSIGs, coaching special interest groups, are a wonderful way in a small group setting to learn and support yourself and each other, right? I mean, they're just wonderful. And I saw Tamara just said she's already signed up. So, yeah. And let's see, Miss Poppy's asking, will it be recorded? So if they do the free webinar, it'll be recorded, right? They'll get the recording?
Yep. You have to register. If you register, you will get the recording. And then if you sign up for the coaching group, if you miss anything, it's recorded so you can catch up.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Catherine, thanks for holding space and pushing me to share this story. Talking about obesity is not easy for me. Talking about lipedema, I can do all damn day long. But obesity, for whatever reason, is the next frontier for me. And I'm looking forward to sharing the updates with you all and, whatever I learn in the process. This is not just for me. I think we can all learn together. And I appreciate your heart in letting us dedicate today to my own healing journey so that I could presence my own experience with you all. And I'm really grateful for you, Catherine. You've changed the world because of this. So thank you.
Yeah, it's very mutual. I always, where I always land these days is there's more. I mean, we get to a certain place, and of course we need to end. But I do want to say, Becky just says she did MLD. The first 2 weeks of MLD, professional lymphedema massages, and her pee was black. It was amazing. I went through an intensive period of MLD recently, and when I was working with my physical therapist, she's like, stuff was coming out of my skin and it was black. She couldn't figure out what was going on because it was coming out of the skin, and it's these toxins. Um, so do join us. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you for joining us. It is better together. We navigate lipedema together, and that's what makes all the difference in the world. So, love you all.
Thank you, everyone.